Good evening, everyone. I'm going to not gavel at this moment because I have a very, very, very special introduction to make this evening. I recently had the opportunity and had the honor of calling bingo at a Senior Citizen Day at the Greenwood Sebastian County Fair. And so we were playing bingo and several prizes were given out throughout the morning. And as we got to the end of it, I thought, well, I need to give another the prize that's not on the list. So I said the next bingo will be Mayor of the Day in Greenwood, Arkansas. So I want to introduce you now to your mayor, at least to begin the evening. I told her she didn't have to stay for 4 hours, but plus I think she had some homework. So please welcome to the bench Miss Mayor Kinsley Hughes. Unity among all of its residents. God, we ask that you would let us acknowledge you for every decision that's made tonight. We invite your presence here. God, we ask that you would lead, guide, and direct each and every decision. Give us godly wisdom. We ask that you protect our community, our leaders, our families, our friends, God, physically, spiritually, mentally, emotionally. I ask that you would keep us safe from all harm, from all sickness. Give us comfort and peace as we have lost loved ones. God, keep our minds free from depression, from anxiety, from fear. Ask that you unite us to do your good in this community. God, ask that you would not let us be divided by personal preferences, political agendas, or anything else, but that we would be united with you, that we could show light and show your love. God, your word says that one can put 1,000 to flight and two can put 10,000 to flight. So I ask you to let us be an example of what can happen when an entire city can change a region because of the love that we show for you. We thank you in advance for your blessings. Thank you for continued championships, for continued blessings and prosperity on our city. God, we ask that you let your kingdom come in Greenwood as it's already been done in heaven. In Jesus' name, amen.
Please place your hand over your heart and repeat with me the pledge of allegiance to the flag of our country. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mayor Kinsley to meet me right out front here for just a second. So Mayor Kinsley Hughes is not only a mayor, she is also a deer hunter.
All right.
So just for the sake, because we're in good old Greenwood, Arkansas, tell them your choice of weapon for deer hunting. She knows her weapons. How many deer have you shot? 2. How many dogs do you have? 16. And you're keeping how many of them? 16. So we had a couple of discussions and this was just awesome for me to be able to do that
fairground. And I'm telling you, everybody there was obviously a senior citizen, including myself, because it was Senior Citizen Day. And this young lady was sitting on the front row, and she had taken, I don't remember if you'd taken somebody's place, or your mom was certainly there. Thank you for being here this evening. Mother of the mayor, ladies and gentlemen. This young lady, we are in good hands. Not just because she can shoot a deer, because she is sharp as a tack. And she had a lot of things to say tonight, and she got a little bit, I said, you can talk all night long if you want. She goes, well, maybe later. So what we are going to do later on at their choice, at the mom's choice, not that I condone skipping school or anything, but at her choice of when she can get out of school or a day off, she's going to come back down to City Hall at 9 o'clock in the morning or 11 when I show up and spend the day with us. We're going to go to lunch, and we're going to visit all the departments, and we're going to go out to the sidings part. We're going to go out and watch the sewer plant. She's going to get to know all about everything, and go to PD, of course, and the fire department. So she's an amazing young lady, and this is what Greenwood's producing in our school system. So she is awesome. I do have a couple of things. I got something I want to read to you. This is a certificate of recognition. I, Doug Kinslow, the other mayor, hereby proclaim Kinsley Hughes, Mayor of the Day for the day in the City of Greenwood, dated this 3rd day of October 2022, and I've signed it along with our clerk treasurer Charlotte Derry, so it's official. And typically, Kinsley, when we do something like this, and I've been told by the chief not to do it anymore, but typically I say you can drive around the square as fast as you want. Now, in this case, we won't do that, okay? But it is your day. We honor you. There's lots of pictures. You're going to be all over Facebook, everywhere. TikTok, Hippity Hop, or whatever they say. So there's that. In this, I have a little speech, and I say the same thing almost every time, but I can't be any more truthful. This is the key to the city. You can already get in my office, so you don't need this. So it doesn't open the door, but what it does is I get to represent, so fortunate to represent almost 10,000 people. This represents the hearts of every one of those citizens, and we love you, and we thank you for being mayor of the day. So congratulations. And let's get that scheduled for the day so we can go. What do you like to eat? Gino's Pizza it is. Sammy just got a plug. All right. Thank you for that. Oh, I'm going to read from her notes. So we're already there. She's already in session. We have a great crowd tonight. Thank you all for being here, taking the time out of your evening. We have a pretty large agenda, or average agenda, I guess, but we have some very important things to talk about tonight. And again, I appreciate everyone for being here. So we'll get right into it. I'd ask the council to consider approval of the minutes for the September 12th meeting, 2022, our regular city council meeting, and September 22nd special call meeting.
I'll make that motion. Second.
We have a motion and a second. Yeah, we have another vote. No,
There's minutes because the minutes are in there. This is approving both sets of minutes, yes?
yes.
Mr. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Meeker?
Yes.
Powell?
Yes.
McDaniel?
Yes.
Missouri?
Yes.
Missouri? Unanimous.
Thank you. Recognitions and honors, we just recognized our mayor. So please, if you get to see her around town, whether it's today, tonight, tomorrow, next week, congratulate her. She is an amazing young lady, and we'll do a lot of pictures when she comes back and spends the day with us. I'm looking forward to that. Again, recognize everyone here. Thank you for coming tonight. We'll get into the committee reports. Boys and Girls Club, Mr. Sunday, I saw you. Do you want to speak or just go? Okay, with the report. Anybody has any questions, gentlemen? He's here, or you can get with Danielle or I, and we can answer those for you. SRCA, I believe you have this minute.
Good evening. I told y'all at last meeting I would correct the numbers on here, and I did, so that's why I'll take just a second to go over this with you. The numbers that we had allocated for the cost of the meals were significantly under budgeted. Those were OSSBG numbers, which SSBG is social block grants. And our new numbers, our congregate meals are $7, and our home delivery meals go in at $7.50, and transportation units go in at $8. These are undepreciated numbers, dollar amounts from our auditors, and Landmark Auditing does all of our audits and stuff. So what we're saying is it costs us $7 to make the meals for the senior center, and for the home delivery meals, it's $750 cost, and when we pick somebody up, it's $8 a unit is what it costs us. So the total amount for your residents within the city limits is $9,675, and you guys allocate us $1,250 a month, and that leaves $8,425 deficit. And that's what we make up with other grant dollars, donations, other types of support and stuff. So I just kind of want to explain what those numbers were and why you see the significance in them and other numbers that you will see until I get my next audit from Landmark. Y'all have any questions on that? Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Rice. Appreciate what you do. Next on the agenda is the Parks Commission. I know you have a written report, Mr. Goldstein, if you want to address anything.
Well, Mrs., any questions?
Okay. Water Wastewater Commission, I don't see Mr. Tate Cole. You have a report from the commission. Citizen Forum, time and the agenda. We have several, I think 7 looks like have signed up tonight. So I'll call your name. If you'll come to the microphone, you have 5 minutes to speak. Question for the whatever's on your mind. Council does not have to respond. They may, of course. First on the list is Mr. Jim Newcomb. If you'll come to the microphone, state your name and address for the record, please. I think, is the microphone?
It is, but battery's low on it.
Okay.
If it's a problem, we may have to change that.
Can everybody hear?
No, can't hear a thing.
Yeah, we can.
We're gonna put the
I'm not
let's
sure.
move that. How you want to face. Oh, yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Brother Muscle. Thank you.
The crowd.
We can. Okay, thank you.
Maybe out here's better.
All right, you got the name.
Yes.
All right, before I start, we'll start in the tip here. Still can't hear.
Hold on just a second. We're going to go ahead and shake
Now,
it.
wait a minute, it's my 5 minutes, not yours.
We're gonna change
I want everybody to hear that.
Tim wants to make sure.
Tim wants you to hear this.
So, Trent, if you want to lead us in a song, or should never mind.
You're right. I just need to get in here to this cabinet. You may have to stand up. I'm so sorry.
No, I do not want you to say.
He's clearly on the verge of food.
Yeah. If there are chairs in the back, anybody, Mr. Van Gorder, if there's any chairs you got, y'all are welcome to bring them up and put it back.
Okay, checking, 1, 2, 3, yeah.
That's good.
Yeah.
Get it close.
All right, before we get started, let's count for 5 minutes.
Okay.
Get ready. Went to visit Sally this weekend. She did the call.
Can't hear him now, he's not in the mic.
Jim, talk into the mic.
You gotta be in the mic.
Jim, talk into the mic. Hold the mic, Jim.
Yeah, you may have to actually hold the mic.
No, it's on.
All right.
It is on.
I'll just hold it. Anyways, I went up to Baltimore, had to go see my Astros flip up on the Orioles, so. And I said, it was Friday night, I said, Greenwood playing tonight. I said, well, which we can watch? I said, turn on YouTube. So we called Greenwood football and listened to the game. she thought she was hilarious as ever. Then she starts texting all her friends, just to let you know, we got people in Pennsylvania, New York, Maryland, and Washington D.C. listening Friday night. Do I have to hold it down?
No.
Yeah. As long as they can hear, I just want to make sure they're right here.
You need to hold it, Jim.
Huh?
Hold the mic so we can hear you.
You can just begin to.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah. And just keep close to it.
My issue tonight is gerrymandering. Got an explanation of it. The manipulation of electoral constituency boundaries so as to favor one party or class. Gerrymandering protects the party lines and keeps bad incumbents in power. The practice of dividing or arranging a territorial unit into electoral districts in a way that gives one political party an unfair advantage in the election. You guys got something?
Jim, scoot closer to the mic, please.
I lean forward. There you go.
Yeah.
Lean forward.
Yeah.
Would you turn it up a little bit?
Yeah, please hear my voice.
Need a longer mic.
Here we go. She may want to, oh.
Try it again, Jim.
Maybe y'all should switch seats. I don't know though, I may not have to get it back in it, but I've got to turn the volume.
Council ready? You want to read the first page again? Gerrymandering and manipulation of electoral constituency boundaries so as to favor only one party or class. Gerrymandering protects the party lines and keeps bad incumbents in power.
Okay.
The practices of dividing or arranging a territorial unit into election districts in a way that gives one political party an unfair advantage in elections. Okay, now I'm on to page 2. Okay. Page 2 is the ward distributions, Ward 1, 2, and 3. The Wapaniti drew up for you. And you'll notice on there, right underneath the map, it says recommended. The one she recommended, I watched the tape a dozen times. She tells you that number 1 is the best one at least 9 times. It distributed everything out real good. I found out you paid Wapaniti to do this. That surprised me, that you paid somebody money and did something else. You'll go to the 3rd page. You're going to see a map where we got Ward 1, 2, and 3. Okay, the map in Ward 1, or the first map, is going to show you that A.C. Brown is now in Ward 2. The way they split it up, she's now in Ward 2. Okay, the map you chose, the one that was gerrymandered, and there's all, you know, talked to a lot of people about this because I thought that's what it was, and there's gerrymandering. And what it does is it takes A.C. Brown out of Ward 2 where he would have had to run against Tim, Terry, and Lance. I'm not sure which one because there's only 2 allowed in the ward. It moved the lines over, put him back in Ward 3, and so he stays on. But what the deal about this is, what got me is Ken Edwards drew the line. That blows my mind. He doesn't work for the city. He lived in Fort Smith now. He has nothing to do with it. And I was just amazed that he could come down here and draw a map and gerrymander and manipulate things for the council. One thing I want to read to you. One other thing I want to read to you. It says a conflict of interest. I'm on the 4th page, guys. Situation in which concerns or aims of 2 different parties are incompatible. The conflict of interest between elected officials and corporate lobbyists, that's national. A situation in which a person is in a position to derive personal benefit from actions or decisions made in their official capacity. Without a doubt, conflicts of interest are serious ethic violations and can alter decision-making, undermine council credibility, and upset financial planning and decisions. Some conflicts of interest are blatantly obvious. Others are subtle. Councils need to expand their view of what might constitute a conflict of interest. Council or board members' minutes should be served as a record for documentation actually perceived or potential conflicts of interest. As an alderman, you have a duty to place the public interest above your own interest. If there is a conflict, actual or perceived, you are obligated to declare it so the council can address and manage the conflict. This helps to maintain the public's trust in the municipality for carrying out its fiduciary and legal duties to the citizens. What I have a problem with on this is what the ditty comes in. They say, we worked real hard. I've seen all the emails. They worked really hard on it. Said this is the best we could do. AC got put in Ward 3. There was going to have to be some type of a runoff vote. I'd have to probably ask Charlotte how in the world it would work. But you can't have 3 councilmen in a district. Well, what happens is we send Ken Edwards up to Wapatiti. He comes up with new lines. And I wish I could show it up there on everybody. It looks like just all kinds of lines in Ward 3 cut out to make the numbers match. That's called gerrymandering. Well, what it did when you did that, you slid the lines down so AC stays in Ward 3. And what happens? You still got 3 firemen on the council. If what AC had to run again, there's potential of 1 fireman falling off, and this council would be even. I think it was wrong, and I'd like to ask the mayor to revisit the redistricting and see if the council considers it right or wrong.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Duke. Number 2 on the agenda tonight, or on the list tonight, is Ski Churosky, I think. Did I do that right, sir? You want to? Yes, sir. You would just, there you go. You would just state your name, sir, and your address.
Front of my purse.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
My name is Steve Churosky. I live on Ithaca Street, 123 Ithaca. The reason I'm here today, I'm with the seniors, trying to see about getting us a new place. We was here a week or so ago, and we had none of the city council showed up. There were 2 that showed up that said they'd be here. A.C. Brown said he'd be here, and he didn't show up. The other folks didn't show up. You know, but my question is every time there's, and I looked this up, this is what city records. Every time there's a vote on the fire department, all you guys show up. Why? Will we just chop liver? Yeah, you know. So, the way it was picked, the way they picked it was, I believe it was the secretary goes and calls each one of them, says, we're going to have a meeting at 4:15 or at a time on this week. And they all vote which day they can vote. And then what they need to do is they got to get 3 that are in agreement that they'll be there, because the mayor will be the tiebreaker for the voting. What happened was they didn't show up. A.C. Brown was the only one who didn't show up that was said he'd be here, and he didn't. So I mean, you know, if they're voting for the fire department, because they're all on the fire department, I don't know if that's probably legal, but I don't think it's ethical. That's all I got to say.
Thank you, sir. Next on the list this evening is Skip Kelly.
Get out of your way, Skip.
No, okay.
Okay.
I'm a Vietnam veteran.
Mr. Kelly, would you mind giving us your address, please?
Okay, address is 115 South Fowler in Greenwood.
Thank you, sir.
And they say that America's proud of their soldiers that serve overseas in the combat zone.
Amen.
Thank you, Skip.
And then when we get home, they cuss us, they spit on us, and call us all kinds of names. And I don't appreciate that one bit. But I'll tell you what, there's some of the folks that go to the senior center on a regular basis that are also combat veterans. And it's an important part of our life to get together, to eat and have fellowship. And if that ever stops, then we're in trouble, in my opinion. Thank y'all for being here tonight.
Thank you, sir. Next on the list is Ms. Glenda Dean.
I'm here to tell you about my experience with the Dull Senior Center. I was walking through one day from the lunchroom to the playing park, and the floor had a place on it that stopped me. It threw me into the next room where I broke my leg. I had been suffering for over 3 years with this problem. What I should have done was turn around and sue them for owning the building and not keeping it up. Us people need a place to go and stay that is recommended, that is safe. We need firemen that will do us our best to keep our building safe. We are just poor people trying to get along in this world, and we need help. And we ask everybody to not do away with our person for our new senior center. We need a new senior center, one that's not falling apart. And causing
Thank you, Ms. Nixon. Next on the list is Tammy Jones.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Tammy Jones, and I live at 810 Greenwood. I'm here to advocate for the Greenwood Senior Citizen Center. How important it is to vote yes for this new citizen building. And I think you just heard some stories about that importance. But you know, Greenwood Senior Center is more than just a place people meet. It's a place where they can go and not feel alone. A place where they can meet others and do life together. They have food, games, puzzles, sometimes movies. Yet, more important, it's a time where they don't feel alone. We all have parents or someone that loved us and gave us their best. Now it's our turn to give back our best to them. The staff, I have to speak about because they worked tirelessly through COVID to keep our citizens encouraged and taken care of. I went by there. I saw the anguish in them because they missed the senior citizens that could not come out. They didn't give up. When the seniors couldn't come to them, they delivered. And I think we just heard someone give a report on that door, which was pretty good size. Our community has received support from the center and fundraisings for bleeding disorders, diabetes, and new legislation for Arkansas patients. They volunteered their time, the staff did. They opened up the building for us. They even put a team of senior citizens together to walk in this fundraiser. It is a 1 mile walk and a 5K run. It happens every year in March. Amazing when we see our senior citizens out there walking, showing that they still have a place. when they put this team together, it was amazing to those that drove by, the senior citizen center, and saw them walking, saw them participating. They still have a strong place in Greenwood. The building being used at present has been a great facility at this point. Yet now it is in need of repairs inside and out, as well as it's in a flood zone. It is time for an updated facility that better fits the needs moving forward as we grow. And guys, we are growing. I'm right there at that senior citizen center, okay? Many of us are. Many of us could be the next group using this facility. It seems because the funding is available, the question is, do our citizens deserve a place not only away from the flood zone, yet one with more space to utilize the new condition, and that will belong to the city? Thank you.
Next on the list is Ms. Courtney Nixon.
Well, I didn't know I was going to have to walk all the way across. I could sit back here.
Sorry.
That's all right. If Miss Glenda Dean can make it, I can.
There you go.
My name is Dorothy Nixon, and I live at 623 Excelsior Road. I wanted to speak tonight mainly to make a statement and also to ask a question. It was stated in the paper that there are about 20 meals per day provided at the center, and that's all it happened. I would like to say that the number has grown to 40 at least people coming in to eat each day, to visit and fellowship and play games, etc. And that's only a small part of it, because our staff in the kitchen feeds about between 80 and 90 people a day who are homebound and can't get there. And so I think it's very important that this staff in the kitchen cooking for everybody these 5 days a week, 120 or plus meals, should have an adequate kitchen, and we cannot have it at Farmers Bank. We need to have a safe kitchen, and I am especially speaking for the staff, but I think that they should have better accommodations in the new building where they can have a kitchen built that will suit their needs. And so I wonder how many people on the city council have been down to visit the senior center. Okay, have you ever seen them prepare these meals in that inadequate kitchen? That's all. Thank you for letting me speak.
Lastly on the list tonight is Ms. Donna Van Gorder.
I no longer live in a parking lot. I live down 306th Street, as in a couple of weeks ago, thank God. I'm a flood victim. The reason that I'm here is at the August meeting, I heard my councilman, Lance Terry, state for our officers, let's raise them on up, let's just do it. So I would like a motion in a second for us to vote on that tonight, because I don't see that it was ever voted on.
It's not, we don't have anything on the agenda tonight to do that, so we would have to do that.
Okay, let's put that on the agenda. because I want my officers' pay raised.
Ms. Bangor, as I always do, and I'm inclined to do it again this evening, especially with the crowd, if you did not know to sign up this evening, I would open it to you. We have to get on with the meeting, obviously, but if you want to speak, we can certainly entertain that. And we would follow the same process. You would have 5 minutes to address the council. Would anybody like to address the council in the crowd if they did not sign up? Yes, sir.
John Van Gorder, 903 Essex Street, here in Greenwood. I honestly don't know what was so important that most of you couldn't show up to a meeting. I run 5 businesses, I had an hour's notice and I was here. We're all going to be old sometime, God willing, all of us. These are people who have made this town what it is for us to enjoy now.
Amen.
They are who left this town to us. So we have some of the best fire facilities anywhere around. We have the 2nd safest city because of this man and his staff. We have the 2nd safest city in the state. And where are our seniors? Well, they're dead last. Because, well, they're gone. We don't care about them anymore. You couldn't even bother to show up. 200 yards, AC. 200 yards from your office. And you couldn't bother to show up.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you for your comments this evening. We'll move on in the agenda. We are at the financial report. Mr. Mark.
Your key financial data. Cumulative city sales and use tax growth from 2022 over 21 was 9%. That's 3% above our 6% budget increase. Our county sales tax, our cumulative 2022 over 21 is 16.3%, which is 6.3% above our 10% budget increase. Advertising and promotion tax revenues, we budgeted 10%. Our cumulative growth was 8.24. We're down 1.76. Still have some, as a result of one of our larger, contributors to the A&P tax through their food sales is still not operational. And they were one of the top 6. Cash flow, our net increase in September, it says obviously, $127,213. Our year-to-date net increase in cash is $1.9 million. We are at current fund balance of $17,739,000. That is a 12.21% increase over the beginning of the year. Our net income before any adjustments for extraordinary items was $2.3 million. Right now, our adjusted net income after taking out the water systems accounts receivable adjustment and our ARPA fund tranche, well, actually putting back in our water sewers adjustment, revenue adjustment for receivables, is $1.4 million. And our capital expense, we, as of September, have spent in capital expenditures $1.7 million of a budget of $6.8 million, or 25.23% through 3 months, through 9 months, 3 quarters. And then all the detail for each department is contained in the report.
Any questions for Mr. Marsh?
I do want to point out that our audit is now, water sewer audit is rapidly down. So that should be done by the end of this month. And our audit or legislative audit for the rest of the operations of the city for 2021 is starting worksheets have been distributed and we're starting to get some information back to start keying in. So hopefully we'll be able to do some scheduling of some budget reviews for either the end of this month or early November.
Thank you, sir. Based on the agenda, as agenda additions, we do have one this evening. Discovered this morning in our department head meeting. It will be number 9. And it's just simply listed as police pay. And the chief will speak on that.
It's possible. I'm going to take an email today to also to present a solar option to the tornado sirens.
Okay, we're going to add that.
Yes.
With the council permission and approval, we'll add number 10, solar option.
Solar, yes.
Okay. On the siren.
Yes.
Or my dad, you just said the siren. Okay. Thank you. Moving on, old unfinished business number 1 is city clerk, ordinance to approve related party transactions with Mr. Jim Reynolds outdoors, third reading.
Motion, we approve that ordinance.
Second.
Have a motion and a second to approve the ordinance.
Brown.
Yes.
Baker.
Yes.
Howard.
Yes.
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 An ordinance authorizing the city of Greenwood to conduct business with Jim Reynolds Outdoors LLC and
Thank you. Number 2 is approval of grant application for CDBG block grant related to senior center facility. We asked Mr. Trader McKinnon to be here again tonight for about the 4th time, I think. So thank you for coming. It's our logo is Greenwood feels like home, and I think she's buying it.
Absolutely.
Thank you for coming. So you have that in your packet.
I do have some additional information.
Yes, ma'am.
That I had a call this afternoon about whether the city could lease a building, and I made a phone call to ABC to confirm that. And I didn't get a call back, but I did find it in the guidance that the building does have to be owned. So it could either be owned by the city or by a nonprofit, but it does have to be in the ownership of one of those two parties to move forward with a grant application.
When that's the case, Mayor, can we juggle these? Move her 2 down.
Sure.
Okay. Let's start with 4. The approval of the ARPA funds.
Okay. Council, okay with that?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Number 4 is the finance department. Finance for resolution to appropriate ARPA funds, second tranche.
Mayor, I'm a proponent of the Senior Citizen Center. I'm a proponent of quality of life. Anybody knows me knows that. And we know that the ARPA funds can be used for that purpose. And I'm for using that purpose and other quality of life purposes. If we designate I am for using this money for the senior citizens, senior citizen center. as well. I make a motion that we approve, well, if they're really complicated.
Second. A motion and a second to, what exactly?
Approve resolution for the appropriate American Rescue Plan Act and restricting that to money for the senior citizen center. Isn't that what it says?
Yes.
What's that?
Sorry?
Yes.
He's making a motion. We have a second to appropriate the funding for the senior citizens.
For the new building?
What was the name?
Yeah.
Make sure what your motion was.
She said it's
A new center, what she said.
That's not the way it reads.
No, it's for building equipment and property to be used by the city for the primary purpose of providing a senior center for its citizens. That's the way the resolution.
Am I misreading?
I don't even have it in front of me. I had it earlier. No, that's,
No, that's, it's restricting it for senior citizen center.
right. So,
No matter what we do, it's restricting it for
Okay.
the senior citizen center.
Right.
It's restricted, you go into restricted account 13700.
so it's not, he's not technically saying by approving of the resolution that it's for a new building. It's just approving the money for the senior citizen center. And that is to be discussed,
I don't want to add that.
right, in another discussion.
You decide, you determine how you're gonna pay for something, then you determine if you can buy it. Somewhere in the process, you have a plan. You gotta have a plan.
Yes, ma'am?
Is there a deadline on this item number 4, or is that just on the block grant? This money has to be allocated or obligated before 2024, and before 2026. Okay.
December 31st, 2024. It has to be obligated. December 31st, 2026, it has to be spent.
Thank you.
It's not spent. All of them have to be spent.
Any other discussion? Motion, second?
Mr. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Baker?
Yes.
Al?
Yes.
Mr. Daniel?
Yes.
Mr. Terry?
Yes.
Ms. Terry?
Yes.
Unanimous.
Okay. The contract to buy the center. That's where we're at.
Yes, sir.
All right, I took it as a proponent of senior citizen center. I'm also a proponent of fiscal responsibility with respect to having a plan. I like having a plan. I also been kind of taken back by, I was here when we first started the senior citizen center. I wasn't an active part of it, but I was one of them that approved the lease agreement. I thought it was very generous that Farmers Bank could give us this thing to use. And if when I hear about it being not kept up, that's because we're in breach of contract. I'm talking about we, the city and the citizens. We were obligated by the contract to keep this building up. They're giving it to us for free. And we were obligated to keep it up. So it kind of bothered me. This was being talked about. Miss Nixon had asked me if I've been to the Senior Citizen Center, and I have. I've also toured the kitchen because I am one of those demon firefighters. So we tour things on our meeting nights to kind of get a feel of how we are to deal with a problem. And that's our due diligence. I thought, well, I've never really paid much attention to it. I didn't pay much attention to it from the beginning, so I decided I'm going to call the bank. I want to call them and ask them how they feel about this. And so I called Senator Wilson first, Ed. And Ed said, well, he said, we hadn't really given much thought to it. He said it was y'all's to take care of, and it was free. And we view that as a very generous gift for 15 years. Now it's been 18 years. He said, we view that as a very generous gift, and we wish y'all would have taken better care of it. I said, agreed. I agree with you. And I said, so now the senior citizens are kind of coalesced, and they want a new building outside of town. And he said, well, that could be their prerogative. He said, but if y'all want to continue to lease it, you're welcome to it. He said, if you don't, we'll just leave it. So I said, well, I don't really like the way that kind of sets. I said, Ed, here's always been our problem with it. I said, and the problem with us spending money and not doing what we should do, and I'm talking about me, we have not done a good job. And I've been on all these councils. Not the rest of them haven't, but I've been on all these councils. We haven't done a good job. And he said, I said, well, here's our problem. You've got a restricted use. It can only be used for the Senior Citizen Center. And he said, y'all did that. I said, I don't remember doing it. He said, Fairfield Carter put that in. It wasn't us. He said, that could have been fixed immediately. And I said, well, here's our problem with spending money, spending significant money. What if y'all want it back? You can take it back. And I said, what if we went in and gutted the whole thing out, cleaned it out from stud to stud, repurposed it, dumped $500,000 in it, and you wanted it back in 2 years? He said, well, that would be a problem. He said, we don't. He said, I was walking a dog. He said, I was walking Mom's dog, but now I'm sitting here with my mom. So you're talking to both of us on speakerphone. And I said, great. And so I said, hello, Miss Wilson. She said, all right. And he said, what about this? He said, what if we extended? He said, we don't want to sell the building. He said, we don't want to sell the building because, he said, last time we expanded, we had to tear down a city block, which was L&W Drive-In and a church. He said, and I think people would miss the L&W Drive-In more. And L&J Drive-In and Miss Moore. I enjoyed the hamburgers there myself. I said, well, so why are you holding on to the building? He said, well, originally we didn't want to do that. And you never knew when we were going to end up building the 5-story parking deck. And he said, we just didn't want to have to go through that again. But he also said, you know, banking's different than it was. He said, it's all going to the internet. He said, banks are going to be different, drastically different in 10 years than they are now. He said, still don't want to get rid of the building, don't ever want to go through all that again, but he said, wouldn't mind signing an extremely long-term lease with the fact that you could make a significant investment in it. I said, well, still again, you break the lease, we could be out of it. He said, well, we could maybe prorate it. You know, y'all stay there 10 years and all of a sudden we have a reason to have it, we'll write you a check. So that sounds pretty fair. I said, I think this ought to be an option to maybe renovate what we've got. And I said, let's look at it in a little more detail. And he said, well, Mom's telling me to tell you to talk to Stanhope. He said, I'm president of the bank. He said, Stanhope's going to be the guy that whatever he says is what's going to go. So I called Stanhope and started to ask, I'd ask him basically the same questions. He said, it's kind of funny you called me. He said, because Lance Terry's already called me and asked me about the same questions. And he said, I've been kind of sitting here making notes on how we could fix this to where downtown stayed viable, stayed a lot of things going on. And I said, well, Stanhope, you know, that Senior Citizen Center, he said, there's a lot of room there. And he said, it's almost twice what you're looking at in square footage. And I said, it would be nice if we could use this for community center, after-school activities, possibly move some offices over there. He said, great, I don't care. So I said, well, if you'll continue to write up your notes, I'll come by and grab them. I went by and grabbed his notes, decided I'll type them up, and I'd like for the council to take a look at that option. Now, today I called MAHG, Travis. We all know Travis. Asked Travis, I said, realistically, how far would $500,000 take us on the old senior citizen center? He said, well, you know you need a commercial kitchen, and that's a big expense. He said, it's a big expense at either place. You really need a full-blown deal. He said, you know you need fire protection. He said, I don't think the old Farmers Bank has adequate fire protection. That's a big expense. He said, out where you're looking at, you need severe fire protection. You know, it needs to be more extensive because you don't have any water and utilities out there. He said, so that would take time, more money. He said, you've got more room with the existing one. You could obviously have some more meeting spaces where you had community events in the evenings, you know, civic groups that met, Girl Scouts, Rotary Club, Boy Scouts, Kiwanis, all the things nobody wants to be a part of anymore, but there'll still be that option. I said, well, how about this? We always had trouble with, you know, the Ed Wilson Pavilion has a life of its own. It's the only thing in Greenwood that makes money. And it was a big, huge fight to get it built. In fact, the mayor at the time said it wasn't boarded up by the end of the year. He, you know, we could slap him in the face. It's not boarded up. It's got a life of its own. It's the only thing in Greenwood that makes a profit. I said, so speaking of profit, you know, talking about profit, what if we were to do activities over at Maple? You know, car shows, if they were stationed over there and they made a profit off stuff, he said, don't care. I said, what if we were having meals and stuff over there for receptions and made a profit? I said, don't care. Parks could do whatever they wanted to. So I said, write it up in the contract. So I've got that, and I should have passed it out. I would like for the council to consider this option. Now, I've heard things over the years. I've heard over the years that the bank did this, the bank did that, and all that. Now, what I did is I've taken, council, if you turn to the back page of the old agreement, all these notes are Stanhope Wilson. That is all his handwriting. So what I'm telling you is the truth. And if you look at the extension, I asked Stanhope, I said, if we're to invest $400,000 or $500,000, he said, in order to get a rate of return, we need to get over around 2040. He said, the building's free. Just figure that. You've got a free building to 2040. What you do with it's up to y'all. I said, what if we were to spend more than that? He said, we can talk about it. I said, we're still a little scared of our agreement in that you may need it at some point. So the bank looked at it from a standpoint of diminishing returns on our investment and paying us out at a certain point. And it was starting to get complicated. So Stanhope said, let's do this. So council, if you look at the number 8 on the original contract, you notice what he did. This is Stanhope. He scratched out Farmers Bank as far as a person that could break the lease. If he was allowing us to break the lease anytime we would want. But Farmers Bank could not break the lease. So he said, if we come up and decided we needed the building in 15 years, we better write you a check to break the lease. So you determine a fair amount of your investment, and we'll write you a check. we addressed the other concern, besides recouping an investment, was the restricted use of the property, which I've already addressed, and that's in number 4. If you've noticed, he's stretched that out. And again, he stated, he stated as well as Ed, that is our language. Purefoy and Carter put that in, not the bank. There's a lot of room over there, and I would like for the council to consider this. Now, I don't like diving into something without a plan. I would like a plan on what the realistic cost is to finish out on the highway. I want to know what that is.
I'd like to address that.
And also, I would like to know the cost here. Now, I know what Travis told me this afternoon about out there. And I know ARPA money has some restrictions as far as when you get over $1 million. You start getting into the labor standards of the federal government. And those of us that build on larger projects realize what that is. We have to start paying rates that are higher. We know that the ARPA money also requires that you follow all local code, local ordinances, state ordinances, and federal ordinances. Meaning we cannot get around fire code. We cannot allow that to be occupied until we get that dealt with. That's going to take some time. So, but go ahead, Mayor.
Okay, thank you for your comments. Let me address a couple of things that you mentioned several times, as in insinuating that there is no plan, or we do not have a plan. We, the mayor's office and the finance office, do have a plan. If you were at the meetings when such plans were discussed, you would know this. To insinuate, I take it personally, because you've done it many times, Mr. Pratt, over the years, that we don't have plans, we don't have a planning department, they're not active, and we have a plan. So the contract, I'll start with this, the contract that you brought us tonight, that we appreciate, was brought to us by Stanhope Wilkinson. I've been on the phone with Mr. Stanhope Wilkinson, who reminds me that no one person at Farmers Bank makes a decision. And I think everybody here probably knows that. There's a board of directors. Ms. Betty, Mr. Stanhope, Mr. Ed, Norman, I don't even, there's several people. We have a plan. We've discussed the plan. I want to turn it over to Mr. Marsh, who is our finance director, who advises the city on finances.
We have cost.
What I'm getting, I'm talking, yes, sir.
Sorry.
We have, if you had been here, we have a quote, a cost estimate for the redoing of the building out on that I'm proposing that we purchase, that we have money to buy and pay for in our coffers. Not over $1 million. We have the money in the bank, which some of the council didn't even know we had, which is interesting. If you come to meetings, you would know that. The money's there. We are not eligible for a grant. Here's part of our plan. We're not eligible for a $500,000 grant on the building that is now occupied for the Senior Citizen Center because it's in the flood zone.
And it's not on those.
And it's not, thank you. Well, there's a $500,000 that you can just kiss goodbye. So there's part of the plan. The estimate on the remodeling to make it a very nice, everybody agrees that is in the plan and the knowing of the plan is approximately $197,000. That's to increase the square footage by our planning department. 900 square feet to give that building a pool room, not a swimming pool, but a pool room, and a card playing room. That's the only thing that facility is lacking that is necessary for these folks to have a really nice facility. This is not just my opinion and my plan. It's the opinion of about 55 people in this audience. The director, the regional director. The other part of the plan that we have is for the county to assist with this facility in the parking part of it. We know that as inadequate for a commercial. The owner of the building is here. It has a commercial kitchen that is not adequate for this facility for what they need. Part of that cost, all of that cost, is $197,000. I do not have a cost estimate to redo a building that we do not own, and I do not propose that we keep putting money into a building that we do not own. And I'll let Tom, the finance man, who is all about money, what it means to own or not own something, discuss that as part of the plan that we have.
Can I ask a question before you move to Tom?
Yes, sir.
The architectural firm, $90,000.
No, sir, not an architectural firm, because we love architectural firms. No one likes MAHG better than I do. I called a contractor to go give me a quote on what it would cost to do the print up that our planning department produced for us without spending $10,000 on an architect.
Mayor, Arkansas state law says that any municipality that's going to do a project over $100,000 has to employ an architect.
And we would do that, but not until we agree to purchase. I don't do that unless we agree to do it. That's part of the plan.
That contradicts the amount that MAHG told me that.
MAHG gave you a cost on that building? They've never been in that building.
And he said he hadn't really been in there, but just.
Looked in the window. The number that I got from Mr. Brown in a recent meeting was he threw out a number of $400,000 to redo the building that they are in now. Where did that number come from? Is that part of a plan, or is that just a number? Mr. Brown. He suggested that I call MAHG, quote unquote, throw about $400,000 at it, and let's move on with what we have. Let's talk about equity. Let's talk about common sense.
Amen.
Let's talk about it not being a political situation. Again, I'll just say it again, because to tell me that we do not have a plan, I don't appreciate it. We've been working very hard on a plan for these folks. And yes, sir.
For I don't know how many years we've talked about this. The contract expired and it needed to be renewed, and started new discussions. Farmers Bank has repeatedly said, we're not interested in extending the contract, we're not interested in selling this building. They agreed to extend the contract last time, whatever it was, 3 years or something. What changed? I mean, that's news to me, Rod. I mean, I'm not saying you're making that up. Don't get me wrong. That's not what I'm saying.
But again, it's in his hand, right? You know,
For years, that we've been in a situation in the city that, well, we're not interested in doing that, and really, we'd like to tear it down. But now, all of a sudden, we have a new contract. We'd like to.
I've heard this for years, and I just decided to ask.
Just now.
Well, I asked Friday, last Friday.
Why now? And let me, I've been sitting here for about 8 years. And to get something done, to redo, and to put money in the seniors' existing building, for me, has been like pulling teeth. From the council, that's correct. And it's all correct.
We fought for 2 months to get an air conditioner put in there.
So if we're all of a sudden, now, in this season, ready to spend at least $400 to $500, depending on which window we peek in, on the building, that we don't own, this is baffling to me. Baffling. I want to turn it over to Mr. Marsh.
2 years after it started.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, sir.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but can he have that microphone there?
Yeah.
So everybody can hear him.
Sure, Chief, would you? Oh, I'm sorry. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, just take it.
you, thank you very much. I see how you are. 2 years after I started, I came from a hospital as a financial analyst for 5 years, and that's a big operation. I was with a physician services as well as doing a HUD loan for a large retirement center that was being under construction. After it was done, we had a big replacement reserve, which, by the way, I keep constantly talking to you about the fact that we don't have anything that would be a contingency fund. And I've been dealing with where our idle cash is, and we've been talking about that. Nothing has been done. 2 years after I came here, the contract was coming up for the senior center. You charged both the mayor and myself when I told them that, hey, we've got to go back and we've got to do something. You said, let's go back and see what they're willing to do. We went there, the first question out of my mouth was, are you willing to sell? That answer was no. So we talked about some of the cost sharing that would be a significant cost over the capital expenditures. They were not willing to budge. $1 is for a building that they know is in a disrepair. And they're asking the citizens of the city of Greenwood to continue to pump money into a building they'll never get a return from. That is a lease, it's a financial lease is what it's called. The finance lease basically transfers the risks and the rewards to the city, but nothing back to the bank at all. They will literally, when we walk away from it, be enriched. That's how it works. Now, we've agreed to that. I would have agreed to a financial lease to own. If we pump money into that bank, and ultimately at the end of 15 years, we have an option to buy that building. I'm not saying just take it, but buy the building at a reasonable price. I would be more agreeable to that. But they're not willing to do that because in their terms, in their words, it's contiguous property. So we went and you said, we gave you all this information back and you said, well, we want a year-to-year lease. And they said, no, we want 3 years. That's what they wanted. So we gave them 3 and we said, well, that's probably reasonable. You guys did. That's probably reasonable because it's going to take us that long to figure out what we're going to do. So we started and you charged the mayor to go try to find out where's a place, where's a building, what are our options. He came back, Bell Park. Great, you have free land. We acquired 19 acres of land that you graciously, along with the Parks Commission, went and purchased for various things, projects similar to this. Great. We charged the mayor to go do drawings and to come up with a plan for what the building should look like and where it should be.
MAHG.
MAHG is who we went to. It's just south, I think, of $5 million.
Yes.
$5 million.
North.
Just north of $5 million. Okay, so that would entail an increase in taxes. Unfortunately, we'd have to probably go after and get a vote for that. Not something we really wanted to do at this time, obviously, if there was another option. And I gave the mayor and asked him to do a town meeting. Town meetings basically bringing in the groups and saying, here's our options. Option number 1, you don't do anything for the seniors because you don't have to. You're not required. You can pull it. So I know cities right now that have done that very same thing. Is that really an option? Well, yeah, it is, but we're not going to do it. Then we had to lease a building. Leased buildings come with when would you lease and when would you buy? I'm going to ask every one of you up here, did you buy your house or are you leasing your house? You bought it, and you bought it because you're getting equity out of that. You're not enriching some other landlord on property. We could throw $500,000 in there, we might as well just roll down the window, throw it out there. If you do gut that building, where are you putting the seniors while it's being renovated?
Probably have to put them back to where they originally come from.
There you can.
For temporary.
There's nothing there to cook with. There's nothing there.
There's still a commercial kitchen. But, you know, when everybody moved out, they didn't move any of it.
Yeah, they did.
They got it?
They moved the kitchen.
She looked through the window.
Yeah, they use it for, I guess it's a Sebastian County ambulance over there, the little building, is right beside us where they moved out of.
The last time I was there, the commercial kitchen was still there, but you say it's all been taken.
Well, I thought they brought the stoves and everything over to our building.
Well, that's neither here nor there. Let's go on. I do want to say that when we came back to you with this idea, and we presented it at the last city council meeting, to paraphrase a quote from Tim Terry, that was, best thing the mayor's done since he's been mayor. $5 million versus $1 million, I say we do it. And then you guys authorize the mayor to go figure out what an asking price would be and to come up and present back to you what the letter of intent would be and what our offer should be. Just between that time, about a month ago, and now, we've gone 180. What happened?
I don't think we're 180. Just looking at every option.
Okay, well, the option to lease, let's talk about that. You would lease in situations when your cash flow is poor. I gave you the financial report, and I basically told you the real numbers. Our net income this year is $1.4 million. Our city sales and use tax is well above our budgeted numbers. Our cash right now in the bank is 17.7. When I first started, it was under 10. It was like $9 million. In 5 years, we're actually floating over 18 million at various times throughout this year. You're in a very strong cash position, and you're getting money gifted to you from the government that we didn't count on. It is an extraordinary item that is not going to mean that you're going to have to go and dip into any of these funds, which you still now have available. Had we not had the ARPA money, we would be having a whole different discussion about using money that's already in our coffers for various other reasons. Now, you have to also look at if it's not going to be used for the senior centers for purchasing, you would purchase in order to build equity. You want ownership, you want to make the necessary renovations, you don't want to have the landlord say what you can and can't do. I know Farmers Bank is making all these concessions to you now, but they want to hold on to, hey, you're going to enrich that building, you're going to change that building to where if you walk, we'll be able to modify that building and we'll generate revenue from it. You're going to bring it up to code, is what you're going to do. The property has future value and it's favorable investment potential, the property that we're looking at doing. Your cash position is very strong. You're not in a weak cash position. Weak cash position is when you would actually consider a lease because it's less costly. Upfront costs are less and the actual lease itself is going to be more favorable because you can actually walk from it. Usually a startup business is who looks at leases because they're not sure that that's where they want to be. Now, there's nothing that says that property has to permanently be a senior center. That there's going to be some commercial development out there. That property could appraise itself. Right now, the estimates is like 21% a year. But what you're looking at is you're looking at an appreciable value of something that the city owns. And it's going to be something that the city can modify, can repurpose if that building needed to be used for a fire station, or if we wanted to move, or a police substation, or it could be another city building if we needed it to be, or we could sell it. And if we sell it, I guarantee you we're going to get our money back out of that building. We're not getting our money back out of this bank building right now.
It would be an appreciable property.
Right. Now, I'm just giving you the facts right now as to why you would lease versus why you wouldn't lease, and why you would buy versus why you wouldn't buy. So you guys are going to have to make the decision. But what I'm telling you right now is you're not going to lose as much as you would lose if you went into a lease as you would if you bought.
And I'm not saying I'm not for any scenario, but I do know the details. We are going to have to hire an architect. I'd like to have a plan from that architect with a cost put on it, and I don't know a lot of detail now. Once we approve of it, I want to see a more detailed plan and a more in-depth cost. We have to hire an architect, and I'd like to have an opinion from that architect. State law says we'll hire an architect.
Right. You still would have to do that same plan if you were going to do anything to the bank building too.
True.
But don't forget that whatever you do to the bank building enriches the bank.
Why do you assume, Mr. Powell, that whatever we would want to do out there, we state guidelines. Why are you persistently insinuating that we would have to do, you're preaching to the choir. Although I don't have a plan, as you can hear, why do you assume that we would not follow those guidelines? We have not done anything, ever, that we have not followed guidelines while I've been in office.
We don't take it up.
Prior to that, absolutely.
Amen.
So why do you continue to persist to say that or question that we would do that? I don't understand. My question is, what is this really about? They want it, we have the money to pay for it.
It's a good investment.
It's a good investment.
And our grant.
One more complete plan, and I don't think that's too much to ask.
No, it's not, and we will have that.
Then why are you so against us getting a new building and staying at Farmers Bank? Why are you so against it? I don't understand.
I'm not against it.
Well, it sounds like you are.
I'm against moving forward without a complete plan.
He's gonna get you a plan.
He just told you how to plan, explained it.
We're working on it. We've asked for appraisals. Appraisals are, Ms. Smith, Ms. Danielle asked, called 3 appraisal companies to look back it up. We are waiting on the plan that we have.
Your contract is.
And you have a revised appraisal or contract intent in your packet. Part of the plan.
I make a motion that we table this until we proceed.
Doug, isn't there a time limit on this grant?
Yeah.
The grant application.
If we don't move forward, we lose the grant, that's correct?
Yes.
Let's do it. Let's just do it.
It's $500,000.
Somebody else make a motion.
Make a motion.
It is the taxpayers' bill.
Tracy McKinnon from Wapatini needs everything by the 8th.
Yes, so the October grant deadline is October 14th. So the absolute latest that I can have everything to me is really next Tuesday. So that I can spend these next 3 days working solely on this application to have it in by October 14th.
And I would be honored and glad to call a special call meeting if people would show up to vote.
But I will, I do also have to say the other part, which is, there is another grant deadline at the end of March.
Yes.
Sounds like the council members would rather
stay
over
the
the
stalling?
The grant fund, yes, they're federal community development block grant funds that come through the state Arkansas Economic Development Commission, but they are federal dollars all the way through.
And how much are they allocated to the cities like ours, or the state? How much is the federal government allocated to this state? I'm trying to determine our chances.
I'm not sure.
I would like for you to, if you could possibly quote as much as you could, Mrs. Always pronounce her name wrong. Yes. Chris. Sasha Chris, you gave a report of the grants that were issued to 7 or 8, I'm paraphrasing, 7 or 8 senior citizen centers. From Alma, this is not a guarantee, it's a grant.
Mayor Kinslow?
Yes, ma'am.
All of those senior center grants that were funded, that were announced at our board meeting, those were through the Community Development Block Grant COVID funds.
Right.
So I do not know, I don't think there's any of those left available. So this would be through the regular CDBG.
Thank you. My point was, it's a pretty good chance of getting a grant. I don't understand. I still like to somebody answer the question is why, if we have the money and the people want it and it's available, why not?
Someone make a motion.
Take a vote, yeah.
Come on, step back somebody.
Ms. Tracy, would you address if we do not get the grant, what happens, or if we don't get the project and do get the grant? We're not going to get the grant without the project.
What if we get the grant or awarded the grant, but then something falls through this project?
What we believe that would happen before we progress with spending any of those grant funds. I had a situation in Hackett, I don't think they'd mind me saying, so they got a grant for a sidewalk project that they had applied for numerous times, took us years to get it. Around the same time that they got that grant, they discovered some wastewater issues. And so we actually turned back the sidewalk grant, and I'm now doing a new application for them to do a wastewater grant.
No fines, no.
No hard feelings, no.
I'm just asking.
But that was before we had spent any of that Hackett sidewalk.
I'm just asking, what if we don't get the grant?
For the remodel. That's what you're saying.
Well, so our options are, if we're able to apply in October, if that's not funded, then we can reapply in March with just a letter, and then even, next up. The reapplication process is just as simple as a letter. So that's just kind of up to the city's, commitment.
I'm just saying, we're not guaranteed to do
No,
approve.
I
don't want everybody to get false hope that we're money just sitting there waiting on us. There's a chance we don't get it.
No, we're not trying to paint that picture. The picture I'm trying to paint is if you do the bank, there is no money.
I'm not picking sides on y'all's own squabble.
I don't have a
I'm asking
squabble.
a question about whether if we don't get the grant money, then what is our plan?
For the building?
Because the grant money's not guaranteed for either building.
Well, it's not for one, for sure. So I think my answer to your question, Mr. Terry, is we can actually utilize the building with some modifications in the kitchen as it is.
The one out of the highway.
Yes, sir. We do not have to add 900 square feet. These folks are okay, and they want a building that is safe.
Sure.
And they want a building that we could possibly get a grant for. And I say possibly because it's a grant. We've applied before with plans and gotten grants, and we've been turned down before.
I think the answer to the question is you reallocate that $17 million.
Yeah, we have money in our coffers, by the way. If we've got the building for $825,000 or whatever, we can pay for it with ARPA money. Grants rejected or we get turned down, the city has money to do these things by itself. But why not do it with a grant?
I just found the amount of dollars that are available through CDBG for public facilities or infrastructure, which a senior center would fall into, is $3,385,000.
That's for Arkansas.
Yeah.
And we're asking for 500,000.
Let me make this comment too, if I may, since I've been accused for enriching developers with projects by trying to get incentives from the city to allow these developers to build on either side of town. This particular idea, this option that Mr. Powell is suggesting, and I'm not, it's a plan, would indeed be enriching someone. Everything you do enriches someone. And this, and I'll say it out loud because Mr. Wilkinson was in my office yesterday, day before, it would enrich Farmers Bank. Just as buying the building would enrich the gentleman sitting out there that owns it. Just as everybody else enriches somebody when you do anything.
And the city.
So I don't have to have an answer because I don't think I'm going to get one. Why? This is an issue. When you have the money, you have the building, and we have a plan, and the people want it, why we don't do it. Yes, sir.
Mr. Mayor, can we make the contract to purchase or our intent to purchase contingent on us getting this grant?
Would you address the contract?
No.
Ms. Showback or Mr. Showback?
No. That means
This is
backing
Mr.
out.
Showback that has the real estate
Do that
that has the property listed.
Put the price.
Yes.
You can always, it's revised and it has yellow and top yellow all along the way saying.
Oh, she's still in the state.
So I'm Stephen Showpack. and I reside at 4406 Mount Zinichi Road, that is Zineche Road. It's just off of Highway 10 on the way back. I'm with O'Neill Real Estate. The question was, can we put a contingency into the current contract to if we get the grant or not? The simple answer to that question is absolutely. We can do that. From what I understand, the grant funds are not needed to make the purchase of the actual building. Those funds have already been set aside or allocated. The building is $899,000 is what it's currently listed for. We have a letter of intent on the board of directors' desks right now for a purchase agreement of $825,000. Okay, as well as the offer is also in front of them. It could be signed this evening. The seller is here. He could even sign his part, and we would be what's called under contract. Is there any other questions regarding the real estate itself? Photographs are online. If anyone hasn't seen that, you certainly can. It currently has 4,500 square feet. With the addition, we put it at 5,400 square feet at $825,000. That's under $200 a foot for prime Class A commercial space, which is really unheard of. I will say that the dirt on the other corner of the highway, in January, I believe it was, changed hands for $600,000 for just a little over an acre. It was at one time in 2020 on the market for $18.34 million at 34 acres. So this is 2 acres with a viable building that is currently being used as an event center. It was used last night, I believe, or the night before last, because there were cars in the parking lot. So it is a viable building where it sits, and I think it's well worth what it's being asked for.
I don't think making a contingency for what we might desire to do in the future to the real estate contract makes sense in my mind. I mean, any more than me buying your home and wanting to build a swimming pool later, needing a contingency to it. I mean, that's remodeling that we're going to want to do as a city. I would like, Mayor, to make a motion that we place this item 3, original item 3, maybe still item 3, the offer to purchase this building. I make a motion that we do that.
We actually have a motion on the table as it stands. Mr. Powell, do you want to address that motion, or?
My motion still stands.
Do I hear a second on Mr. Powell's motion?
Sorry, what was the motion again?
Table it until we get it.
Table.
When you talked about appraisal, you said that the appraisers are backed up, about how long do you think that those can get to the appraisal?
Mid-November is what I'm hearing.
So the contract is written for a contingency for appraisal to meet minimum purchase price. And if the building does not meet minimum purchase price at that time, the buyer and seller will renegotiate and or agree to terminate the contract if they cannot come to an agreement.
So we got nothing to lose, right?
So part of that plan that we have also includes Mr. Marsh visiting with folks with Municipal League. I know it's odd that we would do that, but we do that weekly. And part of that is that we, through this ARPA money, are responsible to spend it responsibly. Meaning, if this building is overpriced, ARPA money is not to be used for it. Part of our plan.
Well, it says here in the revised contract that you have 45 days after acceptance.
Correct.
And so what happens if the appraisal doesn't come in within that 45 days?
You just lengthen it with a general addendum.
You just what?
You just lengthen the term with a general addendum.
And what does that mean?
You addend the contract.
To wait till you get to the appraisal?
Yes.
sir, the city limit, we are contiguous, this building is contiguous to city limits because of Highway 10. We've already looked at that, part of our plan, with our planning department. We plan to annex this facility and move backwards, to move to annex all the way back into town, as we've all discussed, and we all seem to want to put in infrastructure. And I, believe it or not, had discussions with RDOT, part of the plan, to put water and sewer lines in on the south side of Highway 7 or 10, or north side, depending on what RDOT suggests at the time of the widening of that highway, part of the big plan. So there is no issue with, yes, you may.
I think Rod's motion failed for lack of second.
So we have another, we do have a
I
motion.
restate my motion that we sign this contract. And Rod, I would say, I mean, I'll say this to all of you, not just to Rod. I understand that. I understand that all of the conversation that's going on here. I don't understand why Farmers Bank over all these years has not been interested until the last few days. But I feel like all of our jobs is to represent the people that vote for us, that are constituents. I have not had I'm opposed to the plan. And we've got a room full of people that say they are, and I think that's who we represent.
You're more versed in real estate contracts than I am. I was just wondering, with this revised, do we put the city in?
No, I think that's general contract terms, real estate terms. I think that your show tax stays everything like the law reads. I'm sure everything other than
Can I ask one question, Mr. Roach?
Yes, sir.
I don't know if he has to tell us, but are there other offers that if we don't move on this today, that we could lose it to?
Currently, there are no other offers pending. I will tell you that the seller has turned down an offer in the past.
So we have a motion.
For approval to propose offer and sign letter of intent. Commercial property.
Do I hear a second?
There you go, folks. You see what your city council thinks of you.
Election time's coming, guys.
This is our third time we've met here for y'all to make a decision. And you know, the elderly can't hardly drive at night, and here y'all keeping them out at 9 o'clock at night. I mean, what's the big deal? Can y'all answer our questions?
Nobody has a proper male anatomy.
Yeah, money.
Special interest.
Yeah, there are money.
I mean, so sad.
Come on.
Somebody's got some special interest in it.
If y'all can't help out the seniors and take care of the backbone of this city, then the seniors don't need to vote for y'all.
Amen.
Amen.
I understand why you don't want to help the seniors.
Yes.
My name is Buddy Lloyd, 1L. I live at 130 Ridgecrest Drive. Guys, I've been a familiar face in here for a couple of years now. Each one of you have said your concern month after month after month of putting money in a building that we do not own. Each one of you has said that. Well, I'm not saying that you guys have done a bad job, because you weren't putting money in something that you didn't own, and that's a good thing. Now we have a chance to do something to help them. And I encourage somebody to make a second.
I'm leaving it open for a moment.
I'll second.
I know it.
It sounds like
I
y'all,
still think there's information that we still need to find out in detail as far as the renovation, building the pond. There's still a lot of dollar amounts that we don't know about. And I think that we should know all the dollar amounts before we enter into a project, the city money.
So yes or no question?
I don't know.
Unbelievable.
One council member down. Remember, in November, he's up for re-election.
exactly.
That's right.
Ladies and gentlemen, please call the roll, please. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes, so listen, I,
Hopefully he'll get a whole lot done.
neighbors in the audience. I've got former teachers, scoutmasters, coaches. And I've lived in this town for quite a while myself. And I do appreciate those that have come before me to help make Greenwood what it is. You guys have really been there through thick and thin in this town, and I think we owe it to you to take care of you and provide you the facilities that are due you. I also think that we need to consider other options. I think there are. What Rob said, as far as being fiduciary responsible, is very important. And so I'm going to vote no here.
Wow.
Mayor, I want to say one more thing. Our financial advisor, he's not a bookkeeper, he's a financial advisor, gave you a financial report. $1.7 million is our net income here today. We have over $17 million set to farmers bank. We are not a financial, we don't have a financial burden here. We spent 25% of our capital expenditures this year that were budgeted.
That's right. We're making money because we're not getting projects done that we budgeted. So we really need to look at completing the projects that we promised the citizens that we budgeted.
I am disgusted with you guys right now. I am
If you completed
disgusted.
all of the projects that we have budgeted, you would still have the money.
I'm disgusted.
Unacceptable.
So we're going to ignore our finance director, advisor, and citizens of Greenwood.
So what will you approve this money for?
We need to continue.
Yeah, what do you
Let's
want
stick
to
to
do?
the, let's go ahead.
Fire department?
What do you plan on doing with that money?
Let's go ahead, let's continue the vote.
I'm for spending money on the senior citizen center for fiscal responsibility. That includes some more detailed
They're
plan.
looking in window.
I don't know until we receive a better plan, a more detailed plan.
You haven't even looked at the funds that put in for reserve.
Hello? Yes.
All right.
Hallelujah.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you, council. We are lead on number 2, I believe. Grant application on the water grant for the senior center.
We don't actually have anything in our package.
There's no paperwork. I'm asking for it. I don't have any paperwork. Yes.
You just need a motion to go forward with the water grant.
Mayor Brooks.
I think I stated this at the last meeting. There was technically a resolution passed in the spring to submit an application for a senior center project, but we didn't move forward at that time. So yes, if the council, just at this general discussion would be sufficient. We could use that same resolution that we had previously because it didn't state a specific building, it just stated a CDBG application, which is how the resolution is worded. So yes, so just again to reiterate, in order to submit an application by October 14th, I will need a line item cost estimate on paper for the project by next Tuesday. And that's pretty much the last thing that's needed for the application. Need a formal vote to authorize the funds grant.
Make the motion, Mayor, that we apply for the CDBG block grant related to senior facility.
Have a motion and second?
Mr. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Baker?
Yes.
Mr. Powell?
Yes.
Mr. Daniel?
Yes.
Mr. Terry?
Yes.
Lance Terry? Unanimous.
Thank you. Number 5, under new business, city clerk ordinance adopting 2023 millage rate.
This is what we do every year.
Make a motion, we pass it towards by title. Second.
A motion and second to pass the ordinance.
Put it on first reading by title only. Brown?
Yes.
Baker?
Yes.
Powell?
Yes.
Daniel?
Yes.
Mr. Terry?
Yes.
Lance Terry? Unanimous, all ready for title. An ordinance assessing a 5.9 mil tax on real personal property within the corporate limits of the city of Greenwood, Arkansas, in the year 2023.
Rules, wait second, third reading. Second.
Motion and second.
Mr. Brown?
Yes.
Baker?
Yes.
Powell?
Yes.
Daniel?
Yes.
Mr. Terry?
Yes.
Lance Terry? Unanimous.
Motion to adopt.
Motion and second to adopt.
Mr. Brown?
Yes.
Baker?
Yes.
Powell?
Yes.
Daniel?
Mayor
Mr. Terry?
Yes.
Unanimous.
Motion and second.
Brown?
Yes.
Baker?
Yes.
Powell?
Yes.
Daniel?
No.
Tim Terry?
Yes.
Terry? Passes by voice.
Thank you. Number 6 is planning department, Mr. Bell. So ordinance repealing and replacing ordinance 45-14 land subdivision regulation code.
Mayor, Council, Ms. Terry, what you have in front of you is a repeal and replace of the subdivision regulations, mainly because of the addendum that's in the back of it that deals with the road construction, cross sections, and others in appendix. I think that's on page 37. But,
And Mr. Mayor,
The land subdivision code itself,
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
can we give a break for the seniors that are leaving?
Yes, let's take about a 10-minute break for the folks to need to move down and we need to use the restroom. Sorry, Mr. Bell. That'll give us enough time. 10 minutes, we'll reconvene at 9 o'clock. Where's we at?
Thank you. I'll pay money to see
All right, we'll go back in session, and I think everyone, except for Mr. Edwards, I'm kidding. I've never seen him move that fast. Radio, that's not bad. All right, Mr. Bell.
Yeah, this is an ordinance of repeal and replace the subdivision regulations. It was mainly due to the addendum that you see at the back on the road construction and the standards for each one of our roads, from the local collectors all the way up. Chad and Stuart and I got together. Chad is the expert on the road construction. He has volunteered to answer any questions you might have on the standards there, because I absolutely don't understand any of the modified Proctor method or construction standards. But we also went through and changed things that needed to be changed to match the fire code. For example, page 4 is the definition of a cul-de-sac, and we made sure that it had the 96 feet diameter driving surface for the fire trucks. The definition on 5, these are changes made of the subdivision ordinance itself. The definition of the private drive. And on 9, again, page 9, is the cul-de-sac, and it does show the 96 feet diameter driving surface. On page 13, you'll notice that we increased our subdivision warranty from 1 to 2 years. That matches Fort Smith, and we have talked about that several times in the past, that we needed to make that increase, and this made it a good time to do it. Also on page 22, again, it reiterates the increase of subdivision warranty to 2 years. And then starting
Can we make that longer than that, Sonny?
Pardon?
It's 2 years, as long as we can make that?
No, but that's what everybody else does.
We don't want everybody else.
Well, I mean, when you go past 2 years, you get pretty restricted.
But is that, what's that talking about, the building of streets and stuff?
Yes. What we try to do is match what Fort Smith and other areas around here do, and the 2 years seem to be the optimum years.
Which one do you want?
Tim, the
J?
Pardon me?
Are you on J, 6J?
It should be on page 13.
Yep.
And then also, again, it mentions it in page 22.
So it's saying we should make this bonds, so.
I mean, a street, I mean, like, whatever that is behind Yeager's down there. Jones Street, is that Jones Street?
Yeah.
Up inside the neighborhood though. You know, where it wasn't, whatever.
In the Oaks?
Yeah, the Oaks. I mean, that was more than 2 years when we ended up having to deal with that situation. You're we've been dealing with for years.
I mean, you can't go, I mean, streets gonna tear up, but it's, if that project had been built out sooner, then the imperfection would have shown up sooner. But because it was delayed so many times that it took longer than 2 years. But normally, you know, a year is, we've had pretty good success with years, but now we've gone to 2 years, or 1 year. And again, Chad can answer that a little bit better than I can as far as the lifespan of the road.
Well, Daniel said something about in favor of 5, but I'm more in favor of like a percentage of the subdivision being built or something, because you put these roads in, you get 2 houses, and then nothing happens, and all these construction guys come in, well, somebody else takes it over, and then you got all these big old trucks and cement pictures on the road again, and then the city's got to fix that. And it doesn't make any sense.
I agree.
I mean, either, I don't know how, if you can do that, say if it's 75% of the lots are sold, then it's in 2 years. If they're not, then it's in 5, or, I mean, I'm just being devil's advocate.
Yeah, and that, I mean, that, I look at it as trying to come up with something that a developer will be comfortable with, you know, throughout the area. Right. And 2 years was the number. You know, again, we hear that Greenwood's hard building. And I'm real conscious about that and try not to overdo things so that it doesn't hold our building back.
But you know, to tag on to what Tim said, like to pick on Oaks, since we're picking on Oaks, you know, part of that was to build a road to Main Street. That felt, well, you know, I guess it changed hands or whatever. And I don't know, stuff like that is where it seems like we get left holding the bag, you know, when these subdivisions.
Yeah, so that's supposed to be phase 2 or
whatever. You got
one of
phase 1 or whatever.
phases, yeah.
We're left holding the bag. 18 months, supposed to be up to 96 too.
Yes.
And that, what the, part of the bond is for though, for things like that, or?
Yeah, the bond.
The street or
yeah.
the curb?
And that's what this addresses, it's a 2-year bond instead of a 1-year bond.
Well,
Chad, would you like to say anything on the lifespan of the road?
I don't have a problem.
I mean, as far as going over 2 years? Or?
I think it's a good thing because any contractor come in and build a road that's going to hold up for a year.
Do you think 2 years is enough?
2 years is something that I spoke with Stan Snodgrass, City Fort Smith Engineering, and that's something that they do, and that's something that the mayor asked us in the beginning of the year to, why is everybody saying it's so difficult to come to the city of Greenwood and build, what is it that we're doing? Well, these are some of the changes that you're seeing. Of course, increasing it from 1 to 2 seems to the extreme, but the reality is what Daniel was saying. Charlie, we had that heavy haul permit, right?
Yeah.
And that's something that you guys have put in place to protect 62. And I think it was put in 93. And I have not found one permit that's ever been issued, which was put in place so if a developer comes in, part of it's not developed. They come in and do some work, they get some houses in, it lays, the back part lays empty for 4 or 5 years, and they come in and develop, kind of like what happened in the Oaks, and then we find what's going on. Well, that heavy haul permit states that they have to permit that road, and that's something that you guys have put in place in '93. And I've checked and I've looked, and I cannot find one permit that's ever been issued.
Mr. Bell, didn't you say that you issue those in the planning or no?
The last one that I know that we issued was back when Don was with the street department, and we issued a heavy haul permit for the gas well when they redid it up on Mount Vernon.
But, you know, just keep in mind, even if we went to a 2-year, that heavy haul permit is still in place to protect it.
There was one issued on Oak Street for Forest Hill subdivision, and that is after Paul Walker pulled it, and it was a ridiculously low amount. They tore up 30 times the amount of money, so we ended up eating that.
Yeah, the hard thing about the heavy haul permit is the enforcement.
Yeah.
I think that's kind of our fault, but, you know, Tim, you know, thinking if we can kind of base it out in percentages as far as development, but just know that that is in place and that's there to protect.
Heavy haul permit, what's the figure on it now?
Well, it just depends. I mean, I don't know what the permit is because I don't issue them.
Used to, we had a dollar figure, and it probably been set in 93.
I think it's
$10,000.
What Don did was he, you know, of course, this was Stevens Incorporated. And so he met with the Stevens people, and they drove from the state highway, Highway 10, up to the gas well. And Don videoed the street. And then they bonded it for what it would cost to replace Mount Harmony from point A to point B. Okay, then after they got through with the project, Don went back and he checked the road, and if there was any potholes or you could see any damage, then Stevens was responsible for that. If he didn't see anything, then he released the bond.
It worked out well, didn't it?
I guess I think that was before my time, Rod, but I remember him going through that and we talking about it later on because, you know, the permitting process came up and I was asking how he did it.
That seemed to have worked out well. The one on Oak Street worked out poorly. Oak Street was really tore up.
I know we've had to chase some down, you know, going through Meadowbrook, going from 10 Spur through Meadowbrook and then up to the Hill Edition. And we've had to tell them, you know, you can't do that. You have to go, you know, we turned them and they came down North Main on a county road and turned up on Hill Edition. And because that's what tore up the bridge that they had to replace. And we still got issues there on Ulmer Street from heavy hauling through there.
So,
you know, when you get one or two through there, you have to be there to catch them.
So heavy haul permit, they come in, they stop the planing?
Yeah.
And then you call, say, all right, it's something we gotta get on and look at?
I would go out and look at the condition of the road, note any existing damage, and then we would just keep on it. And if that were to grow, they would be responsible for anything new or anything.
Now, Chad has put up new signs, you know, on different places like Ulmer Street to make sure that when they know that they can't do any heavy hauling down there.
That's the signs you see permit required?
Yeah.
He did that out of Deerwoods too, it's been a few years ago.
Well, there's some,
Rockport,
I think there's some out by Daniel as you come into town too. So
Like I said, the enforcement of it is a problem, is catching them. Because you have one or two come through there, you know, they can come through any time. If you have a fleet of them coming through there, then that's easy to catch. But
So, this heavy haul permit's 1983.
Is it 83? I thought it was 90.
It's old, yeah.
Might be a little outdated.
So police pull one over, is that how we're trying to catch them?
Yeah, I don't have the authority to pull it.
Like I said, we don't have the authority to. If they're not there when they drive through, then, you know, it's kind of like catching a speeder, you have to be there.
Well, then you gotta have scales. We talked about this before.
I don't think that you necessarily have to have the scales, it's just that you're permitting that road, because you know they're gonna be hauling, we're not really.
If you've got a loaded,
We can have a weight restriction on it, but they're not gonna be setting that scale.
if you've got a loaded dump truck, you pretty well know that he's over the limit of a local street.
How do we catch them? I mean, is it incumbent upon the police, do they just notify you?
It would be, you know,
I think we need to get some of your badge.
it just, you know, when a lot of times the residents will call and they say, hey, you know, I see dump trucks come by here all the time. Of course, when I live out in Meadowbrook and I could hear them hit that bridge and boom, you know, like that. And I knew they were tearing our bridge up. But, you know, how do you chase a dump truck down? And you know, Hunter's done that a couple of times and you know, ask them where they're hauling from, and then he would go to where they're loading and say, you can't do that. And they, oh, we didn't know, you know, well, yeah, you did, the sign was there.
We actually did, I was there, when the chief was there, we actually did that exact same thing about a bridge, remember? And ended okay, but it wasn't pleasant.
Yeah.
one thing, Sonny, I guess on what was emailed to us at that appendix, there were some drawings.
Yes.
And they were kind of hard for me to decipher, and I was wondering, are the drawings, or are they going to just go by the warning as it is right now in this one?
The drawings, now, of course, the one that you were emailed might be a little bit, might not be as good quality as the ones that, you know, that will be in the actual ordinance, like, you know, there's my copy. So that it might be a little bit clearer in the printed copies. But those are the ones that we went over with Stuart to make sure that, what was it, Chad and Stuart? What was it that you needed on these roads? Yeah, the width from.
On the width, you went, it was, I think the old plan was, it can't, it was, in our turn, it stays from back curve to back curve.
Yeah, that's what it is.
What, 26 feet?
Yeah.
And he's needing it to be 26 feet, face of curve to face of curve.
That's right. Okay, so that changes was made to satisfy Stuart and
Cul-de-sacs at 96.
and the fire code, so.
The highlighted areas are what you're putting in or taking out?
That's what we're putting in.
Here's the answer to your question, Rod.
Okay.
Hold it. Basis for establishing bond amount. Representative of the company and the mayor or city road department shall visit the road to be used to survey them for condition status. Survey shall be failure. Estimate will be computed concerning the cost of repairing the entire lead, fixing the maximum. Bond will be set based on the cost of repair up to the maximum. Bond amount shall be collected to cover the administrative costs. The city shall hold the bond until completion of the permitted time period. Do we have those bills? I don't see the fee.
There's not just a fee, it's price tags.
Basically says we'll go out and look at it and figure out how much it costs to fix the whole thing.
Yeah.
And that's the bond.
Yeah, you bond it for the cost of the portion of the road that you're gonna be on.
Since that's 1983, I'm not going to revisit that.
We've said that over and over again, just haven't gotten there.
But I mean, it's just to let them know that regardless of how many years that, whether it's one or two, that is in place as a protection.
Some compaction, how are we testing that? Is that an outside entity, an engineer, or do we test it ourselves? How's that tested?
It's an outside entity, but it's done to Chad's specifications, and he has some pretty stringent specifications for testing. It's just not.
So here it's 95% standard,
Yeah.
95% mod.
The Chad wants it done in several different parts of the road, not just not down the tracks of the.
We're present when they're doing the testing. Some of the changes that Sonny that we looked at is because on our current system, everything is based off of a modified product. And so modified, the best way to put it would be, the feedback we're getting is like, what are y'all building, a runway? You know, for an airport? Well, no, not really. But it's just the way that they obtain the samples for the material that's going back in to build your subgrade. So a standard is like a 5.5 pound hammer dropped at 12 inches versus a 10 pound hammer dropped at 18. So it really depends on how hard that roller hits. So a bigger roller is going to hit harder. That's kind of modified. You can still obtain those same things with a smaller roller. You just got to work it a lot more, and that was the complaint.
You see why I brought him tonight.
But those are not done by you, you're.
Those are not done by me, those are done by testing, yeah.
And the testing?
Yeah, they'll obtain samples, they'll take it back to the lab, they'll put it in their tubes. They're trying to find a dry density, a wet density, they're trying to develop a curve to see, okay, well, this is what we've got to have.
So So how do you determine if the testing entity is legit? It wasn't me that decided to be a tester tomorrow.
Because we're there when they test, and then we get the results of all the tests. So, yes, at some point, I mean, we just have to trust them that they're doing their part, but the one thing that we can do that we must do is we need to be present. And so that is the one thing that they're doing when they test. We run into a little bit of a problem with that when they had to change the hands up there, but we've since corrected that. So anytime that they come out and test, whether it's subgrade, to your base course, to your asphalt, somebody from the city must be present to observe and watch.
So this is basically a lot more detailed than what we had before.
Yes, very much more.
And that's great.
We put a lot of time in it.
How does it compare, I'm not saying about care, but how does it compare to like Fort Smith?
It's exactly what they do.
It's exactly what they do.
And I talked to, I'm gonna say her name on the Crafton and told Michelle.
Yeah.
Dudrow, and, so we was kind of talking, and I told her what things when we presented tonight, she was, man, she was, that's great. I said that the contractors, he said, put you in line with everybody else now.
It's always nice when the contractors come and complain to you and say, it was exactly like Fort Smith.
Well, it's not that we really want to be like Fort Smith, and, you know, we don't have to be.
You don't have to change anything, though.
We don't have to
What's
change
expected
nothing,
there is what's expected here.
But when they're complaining, and the mayor's asked, you know, for each department, you know, these are the complaints, let's look and see if they're legit or not. And so that's what we started doing.
Our goal has been.
And our standard was, it was high, and I mean, and you can keep it that way. But, you know, we're just trying to build a good relationship with people that want to come down here and build.
And I think the testing parameters that Chad is putting out as he goes out and inspects these, that is making a difference. I think that would have eliminated, for example, the problem with the oaks. Because he would have tested in areas that he felt were suspect.
Our biggest problem right now is shoulders. So if we're not present, if nobody from the city is out there while we're testing, they could be taking their test on where all the dump trucks are on all the time. Well, no, that's going to pass. I don't care about that. You're compacting every time you come here to load. But what's that shoulder where that curb and gutter is set? That's what we're losing with our current trash system.
That's the point of having someone from the city there.
What's the point?
I said, would be the point of having someone from the city
Hold it
there.
accountable.
Those shoulders, by the way, are what failed on Center Street that they're currently rebuilding.
And that's, you know, because it's like, I don't want your wear pattern all the time. I want center road, I want middle road, I want shoulder road. So they need to be staggered in their test. If we're not there to see that, they can give us whatever they want. But when we're there to observe it, we know what we do.
Do they notify you when they're fixing the test, or
They do.
Will the diagrams that you're held up, will they be attached to this?
Yes.
Okay.
And again, I'd like to put this on first reading tonight.
I'll make a motion to put on first reading.
A second. We have a motion and a second.
Mr. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Baker?
Yes.
Mr. Powell?
Yes.
Mr. McDaniel?
Yes.
Mr. Terry?
Yes.
Ms. Terry?
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
An ordinance repealing and replacing ordinance number 05-14, Greenwood Land Subdivision Regulations and Development Code, repealing all ordinances in conflict with.
Thank you, Mr. Bell. Number 7 is Parks Department resolution to amend budget for fishing dock here at Greenwood Lake. Mr. Goldstein.
The Flowwater Bridge that we had budgeted for has been turned down by the Corps of Engineers at this time. So we want to do is take that $30,000 for that approved budget item. We apportion it to bring the boat dock and ramp for kayaks and for fishing. Just to reapportion those funding. Request budget reimbursement will not require any additional funding, it will remain budget neutral.
Make a motion, we adopt the resolution.
Second.
Have a motion and second to adopt?
Mr. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Baker?
Yes.
Mr. Powell?
Yes.
Mr. Daniel?
Yes.
Mr. Terry?
Yes.
Mr. Terry?
Thank you, Mr. Goldstein. Number 8 is finance, resolution to amend budget for paving walkway at Boys and Girls Club. I don't think, oh, he's here.
Under the current contract, there is a section in the current contract that says that if you need additional funding above what was allocated to him in the contract, he needs to approach the city council and he needs to ask for it. And you have to approve it based on certain conditions that you deem appropriate, such as our current funding, current budget, spending, or revenue streams, whatever you deem would be something that you would want to consider. I had long, lengthy discussions with him. He's asking for, I'll let him explain it, a walkway from the athletic field, and how much he's needing.
What we're asking for is about $20,000. It's going to add roughly around 600 feet of walkway, plus pads, concrete pads around the backstops where we can put bleachers. Okay, and so that's where we've already added. We've already done 300 foot in the back to the back parking lot. So now what we're talking about, and y'all are familiar with, when you walk in the first field to your left, there'll be a walkway down there, concrete around it with bleachers. Then we also, the big field, field 6, we'll have a walkway over there, pad forward out there. Field 7 is one of the fields we can't do because it's on a hill, so if we put a pad and put a bleacher, we might have a lawsuit when it falls down.
This is what you showed us last month, with your
Yes, sir.
pictures and everything.
Yes, sir.
Very thorough. They were good.
Yeah, so we already have that. Putting that out there with the addition of what we're doing already with the parking lots, and also with the new fence up there, I mean, the place is going to pop. We're doing a report for the Boys and Girls Club, and just give you a number because it kind of blew me away how many people coming out there you take the participants on their sports and you multiply it by 2.5 for the family and how many games are out there. We have over 60,000 that come out there through the year, not counting the other like the Arkansas Select, who rents out the facilities on one night and everything, all the people that's coming out there. We're trying to do the community outreach numbers now. That's a little bit harder. But I was pretty amazed with that number once we figured everything out.
I was thinking last month you said it's going to be like 21,000 or something like that.
It's going to be actually, the bid he gave us was 19.9 was the number and everything. And also, I'd like to tell you this too, Farmers Bank donated, and we're putting for new scoreboards in the gym, which we found out when we were talking to them about ordering and getting a price. They were 27 years old. So we got good use out of those. So we're going to have new scoreboards in the gym for that too.
I think they paid for the original ones, didn't they?
Yes, sir. And they got a big old farmer sign there, and it's going to, so Stan, hope we need the new logo, because I think
The
they've changed.
resolution showing that it's taken out of the general fund. Move to general administration department, 6,800.
That's where his capital is coming from.
I make a motion to adopt the resolution.
I second.
We have a motion and a second to adopt the resolution.
Mr. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Baker?
Yes.
Mr. Powell? Mr. Daniel?
Yes.
Mr. Terry?
Yes.
Mr. Terry?
We thank you very, very much.
Just to make a note, I appreciate you itemizing these sheets, but I'm thinking 7 was switched. Just,
Oh, were they? Okay.
For notes.
Will you bring us a picture?
Oh, yes, sir. Yes, sir. Everything we got in place in the next month and a half, we have a lot of before and after pictures, and it's gonna be something we can't make it.
Can you let my office know when there's wet concrete?
No, that is a definitely a no. In fact, I stood out there one night when they were done, and it was hard for me not to write my name there too, but I was making sure. But thank y'all very much, very much.
Thank you, Kenny.
One of the things Kenny didn't mention is that he will also be here tomorrow for the A&P.
For the A&P, we originally were asking for the scoreboards and bleachers. Farmers gave us a call Friday after we already submitted it. So we got that. So tomorrow at 4 o'clock, I'll be right here. I'm going to try to see if we can get it from the A&P to put brand new bleachers. We already got it set from them before, and we're going after the same ones.
What is the grant request on that? How much was it? How much?
For just the bleachers, to put new bleachers on everyone, came out right at 12,000, I believe it was. And I got a copy, a picture of the bleachers, the specs.
One set.
No, no, sir. That's 6 sets, I believe it is. Yes, sir. So everyone I have new bleachers, again, except for the field that sloped where you can't put one on. So every field will have brand new bleachers. That's going to match concrete. The A&P already gave us money for a set of bleachers, as well as scoreboards. And we got scoreboards up on 2 fields. So hopefully eventually we can get the rest of it. So we appreciate that.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you all.
Appreciate you. Number 9 is the police department and police pay. Chief.
Mayor, Council, Mr. Terry, Mr. Andy. Not last meeting, but 2 meetings ago, if I understood correctly, it was a hectic meeting, to say the least. But we talked about the Fort Smith pay scale, and I believe Councilman Powell asked me to bring the Fort Smith pay scale. So I brought that and gave each a copy of it, which is their current scale right now before their 24% increase goes into effect, but that is the pay scale now. Also, today, Chris and I called last minute, and we got several current pays from departments that would answer or give us an answer. And as you can see, there's a wide range of scales or pay, starting pays from agencies all the way up from Fayetteville down to Marlton, even Paris. And then lastly, on my way here, Cave Springs called and they're starting out at 49,000. We're approximately 36,192 is where we're starting at now. The new guy's 1740 an hour. As you can see, most of them are around 42, 41 area.
How come we keep putting an hourly number on that? I'm just curious.
Well, some people, I think, can compute it better looking at hourly, but I try to put both of them.
They're not hourly paid, right? They're all salaried policemen.
But that's where it breaks down to per hour. There's none.
We're not salary, are they?
No.
Salary.
Well, the captain and I are.
But not all the office holders.
You get paid up.
Yeah, they're hourly.
But the point is the starting pay, you're just giving us the burden in a year.
Yes, sir, what the starting pay is.
36,192 is what we're at.
Yes, sir. And Alma's close to us, but they also only have to pay $60 a paycheck for their family insurance. So they have, and I didn't see where they, I mean, it was a quick call. I don't see where they top, I didn't ask where they top out at, or this is just their starting pay. A couple of these agencies said they just got it changed after using other departments' salaries to say that they were too low, basically. What I'm doing here, I guess.
The pay scale on the front, this is before?
That's before they're 20, what did they get approved, 24, 20, whatever the tax got extended for Smith takes them up. 24% is what that scale is going to go up.
Does that go into effect the first of the year? Or?
What the assistant chief told me is by 2024. But that's their current pay scale, and they've been saying for years that they're inadequately paid, and, I mean, 41-ish is where they were starting.
Chief, I think we need to do something. I think it needs a longer amount of attention. We're starting a budget for the police department in a few weeks. They've got their budget.
Oh, yeah, everybody's got their worksheets.
When are we gonna start reviewing them?
That's what I mentioned at during my financial report.
Okay.
You can start end of this month and or early November. When I start, I already have 2 returned. The planning and animal control is already in. So I'll be putting those in and they're ready to go. Police, fire is usually the last one.
So what did we tell you when we're ready to start? We hadn't set any dates.
I told them that I want their information back by the 20th of October.
So that'll probably be the first one we go over now. Where will we start? Where will we start looking about?
Yeah, you can schedule the last part of October, except Halloween, and 1st of November if you want to do it.
I think we need to start 1st of November and get it done. We seem to always be in February.
I'll go first. I mean, that's the problem, maybe we can finish up.
We're all working on it.
Chief, do you have like a recommended scale that you've gone through that, I mean, you got this breakdown here for Fort Smith. Do you have something like that for Greenwood that you put together?
I've had several scales over the years. And, you know, you look at the scale that we have now, and I helped create it. Basically, we are at the median for starting income and for the high end of the income. So we're not the lowest and we're not the highest. I think it all depends on where you want to fall. And if we redid that study with all the pay increases for all these departments that went in effect recently, I mean, it's going to move that scale. But it's just a matter of doing that, not only for us, but for obviously all departments, because it seems like with inflation and everything that's been going on, most departments have adjusted, or most of these have adjusted all departments. But they're all changing. I mean, you can go by scale by cities your size, but they may not be in this area. So if I took a city our size down south, they're going to have a lot lower pay. If I took a city up by Fayetteville, they're going to have a lot higher pay. There's no really comparison around here of a city our size that has our tax base. I mean, it's hard to, and I know it always comes back to what our tax base is. So it depends on what you compare it to, or what, I mean, if you want me to do it, I'll do it. Comparative to cities our size, but you're getting a lot.
Well, I guess, I mean, what I'm asking is, you know, I mean, this, for us, this is not something we can vote on, because it's just, I mean, it's good information to have, but.
Well, that right there, if you take that, if we were just to go to 41,000, I can tell you the cost of the city would be around 40,940 if we adjusted it across the board to move everybody. It'd be $2.31 to get it up to 41,000 start pay. So you times that by our 22 employees at $48,0480 per person, $105,705 is what that comes up to. Then you add in the law fee cost and the taxes to pay on that, it brings it, if I'm correct, around 140, 940 for the 22 to shift the whole pay scale to bring the starting people up to 41,000, which obviously you have to move everybody up that same amount of pay. There's very little disparity now between ranks. It's almost, you know, a person has to ask themselves if the extra responsibility is worth 50 cents extra an hour. So you can't crunch that bottom number towards the top, because right now that's what we've been doing for a long time. I mean, just to recall a statement Councilman Powell said, we don't have a problem with people up top leaving, we have a problem with people down bottom. Well, if you keep on crunching that bottom number, there's just no difference between pay. You're talking about less than a $30,000 difference from a person starting on the street to the chief that stays here however many years. And as you obtain rank, you're obtaining a lot more responsibility for very little more pay.
The agency that we lose people to is primarily Sebastian County.
Who we lose them to?
Yeah.
Right, lately we've been losing them to the civilian market.
Civilian market. If we
Or
lose them
state
to-
police.
So we're losing them to the state police if we lose one to another LOE.
Right, when you're talking about going from 37,000 now to 54,000, they adjusted theirs. I think I mentioned there are difficulties in getting applicants across state where they used to get thousands, now they barely get 100.
West Fayetteville offered $10,000.
Because they weren't getting applicants. We had 5 this last go around. Obviously, we hired one, which I'll get him to come to the next meeting, Jacob Parker, with the other people that applied, we just went ahead and did backgrounds on everybody, because we've never had that least amount of applicants, like, ever. I think we usually do the fitness test and try to bring that number down, the manageable number, do backgrounds on them, but we're not getting applicants, so we just did backgrounds on all 4 or 5 people.
Let me interrupt you a second. Ms. Van Gorder, do you have something?
Yeah, I just have a question. How safe our city is? Does that come into play in any of the numbers?
Yeah, how many of these cities we are comparing to are the second safest city in the state? It bears mentioning.
I guess what's Pocahontas? Like, too far out.
I could find out.
Is Pocahontas still the same?
Today I tried to think of teams that played football. I mean, that's what I was trying to think of.
Who's number one?
Usually Greenbrier, right? I think.
Yeah, it's Greenbrier.
Yeah. We beat them in football.
So what you're asking, Chief, is $2 across the board?
That's to bring up 41. Even Barling is starting out, if you look at the, you know, on Facebook, and they got it right there. They're starting at 42,000.
I think Tom's got something.
In 2021, you started, your salaries at the end of 2021 for new officers was 36,192, the number you quoted. But in 2022, the starting salary plus the COLA plus a merit increase, all of your starting officers that were employed in 2021 are at 39,413 with the COLA and your merit. So if you hired a brand new officer today in 2022, that brand new person you just hired,
He was at 1749.
you're bringing him in at 36,192? Okay, so then you're just gonna let COLA roll for next year and merit him there. So you are holding that starting salary at 36.
Right, because
Sure.
there's a time
You have
difference.
nobody at that rate.
Right. Well, Jacob Parker just started.
Well, from your budget.
Right.
You don't have anybody.
So we had it budgeted for that amount? 39,413?
39,413 is the 2022 budget. Now, these officers were all on board.
I see.
So they moved up.
So they moved up. That's why I just wanted him to confirm that a starting officer 2022 will come in at 36,192.
Yes, and he just did. I don't have my glasses, but looks like they're at 38,730 starting out.
Who's they?
Pocahontas.
So that's the argument.
Thank you.
Lowers pay.
Almost have to borrow your glasses.
Well, it also goes into here. 1 to 2 years is 38.7, 3 to 5 goes up to 43, and 1 to 2 years is 64. So their scale is on.
But we did budget for 2022, 39,413.
With the COLA at 5.9, and their merit incentive adjustments that they already sent.
So that's what we had, and that's what we will be looking at when we start working on the budget for 2023, right? When we looked at this number, 39,413.
These officers are no longer in 2022 considered starting salaries. So I don't know, some of them were hired in August, some have got their tenure in here.
You brought a few in here earlier this year. that were
May,
hires.
March, August, when they were hired in 21, in those months, they started at 36,192. Come January 1 of 2022, they were given the COLA and everything as all officers were across the board. So they're currently at 39,413 now.
Oh, I see, okay.
And so he'll bring in this new person at 36,192, because that's where he starts off, follows up.
Oh,
that's what you're saying.
And honestly, we hired one and he just started Friday, I think it was. And we have yet to find another person for that position. Talked to the Marlton chief today on the phone, and they started at 42, and after the officer certified, they jumped to 49,000. How do you do that? But, a lot of places put a lot of money on the front end to keep those lower end officers. Try to give them money up front where it costs too much for them to leave. I think that's what they're doing. But I think to be competitive with these places, we've got to at least match the starting pay. And of course, I know that the tax money that's coming in dictates where we can go with it, and of course, spread out amongst the other departments too.
But Sebastian County stated in here that they're asking.
The sheriff is asking them that they're getting a percentage, but then he's asking a percentage on top of that to bring them up to that 41,000 range, like where everyone else is basically at the least. I mean, basically, we're right about what Paris's starting pay is, and I think that 8 officers and maybe a third of our population.
It's not a good comparison.
No, I'm surprised why. But, just gonna throw that in there. Of course, you're gonna find the agencies that do, obviously get paid less than us, but not in this particular area. Unless you're talking Hackett, Mansfield.
Not a comparison.
I fully support paying our police officers fair wage, but I don't know what we're voting on or what we're talking about in this 10-minute conversation, just to be blunt. When we talk about, what's the financial department saying about this? Are we good with this? Is it $2 across the board? I just want to make sure we don't.
He's just bringing what I asked him to bring to him. I mean, I just asked him to do this.
We're not going to vote tonight.
No, that wasn't the intent. We're so close to budget.
No, there's no resolution or anything.
We're just on the cusp of budget. We can deal with this all. But I believe at the first of the year, our starting pay will be higher for these officers, so we can get them. If not, we're not going to have good quality officers.
And to be fair, this is the first time I even knew the numbers was during your 10-minute break.
Yeah,
I'm just making sure somebody's not asking us to vote on a pay raise if we talk about it.
Well, I'd take it if you vote on it, but I'm not asking you. I wanted some discussion about it before we spend a lot of time on looking at our pay scale and coming to our budget study session. If I'm wasting my time, or we're serious about trying to get the pay up where we can be competitive.
I don't think you're wasting your time. Let's just go more in depth with the budget and determine what it should be. You know, make it after this first year, just like all the rest of the employees. But
And
I think we understand the seriousness of the predicament.
And maybe I was kind of confused there, but it sounds like, we do try to step up the median and the low and the high range, based on the COLA. And so it sounds like, we could have started somebody at the 39, couldn't we have, based on what you were telling me?
Well, if you bring in somebody at that higher pay with someone that's been here, you're going to have issues.
Well, I thought they were already bumped up too, though.
That's another thing we should clarify for this budget discussion is base salary, COLA, lot fee, all of those.
It's in the budget that way.
Okay.
Yeah, their base salary, then it shows COLA, it shows merit, it shows holiday pay, degree pay.
I'm going to grab about the merits a little bit.
It's all there. Line item.
We'll be ready.
Chief?
No, sir.
Your solar option.
Solar, number 10, solar option. Go ahead. Thank you.
I emailed that to Charlotte, Mayor, and Tom. And I just got that. But, looking at the plans, and we finally are getting the poles in, I think later this week. But the poles need to be moved. There's electrical, possible issues getting electric to them. They gave me a solar option that puts it at $3,000 per pole. We have 5 poles. Obviously, that's $15,000. Tax is $16,425. So they've asked me to present this to you as an option, because they're coming in next Monday to go to the sites with me, and we can't keep the same sites because the coverage. We have the new development to look at to make sure they have coverage, which right now they don't. I think the only pole that probably stay in place is the one out in Deerwoods. And these sirens that we order, obviously the technology is better, and the radius they're supposed to cover is better. So there's 4 poles that probably need to be manipulated a little bit to make sure we're covering everything else in Greenwood, and whatever we can cover outside of Greenwood for future expansion. So it's easier to obviously put these poles in the ground and throw solar on top of them to generate the power needed for the sirens. And I think it's a minimal cost, looking at $3,000 per pole after tax, that number I gave you.
You have any idea if it works long term?
I think like any solar, from my understanding, they have to be cleaned. The batteries may need to be replaced. I'm not a solar expert, but I mean, we should be after we just put the solar farm in. But I would go by what they said the guidelines are for how long we anticipate them to last, and the cost for replacing them compared to just paying to have the electricity run to the sirens.
Well, I'm all for solar, but I sure would like to have a backup source just in case there was a.
Well, we need a backup source with this power for some reason, and we can't send the sirens. So to me, the solar made more sense. Now if that fails, I'm not. Either way, you need a backup.
Solar would be a better backup in case you lose power.
And I'm sure there's some type of battery storage for the sirens.
Who's going to maintain this system?
City.
You know if this community another community has this particular one?
I can find out. I mean, they just sent this to me 3 o'clock today.
Just be nice to know if you call another community and they say it's a piece of junk, don't buy this, because they immediately didn't work.
So this was a last minute thing after we figured out that poles can't be where, because the original plan was to keep them where they're at. But there's a gap where the new development's going in, and that's not gonna work. So all the poles have to be adjusted, and they just brought this up as an option.
I'm all for it if it works. It'd be nice to know if somebody else has tried it. I don't like being guinea pig.
I'm sure other places now, I'm sure we're not the initial city to try this, but I will find out who's using it, how long they've used it.
I would sure want them to work when you needed them.
Oh, absolutely.
So that's why I'm sure.
And right now, I mean,
sources.
obviously, we're getting ready to see in winter here, but we've had failures in our poles a lot lately, or in our sirens. So there was an urgency to try to get this going, but there was just a oversight on getting the poles here between who thought they were ordering them and who thought the other person was ordering them, and they didn't get ordered. So they're just not getting here.
Chief, there's been discussion before about repeaters with your radios. Is there any way we could put repeaters on the poles?
Well, this system actually is going to monitor itself. We don't have to sound it anymore. It's going to monitor the weather station. And once we become under a tornado warning, then they'll sound on their own. And of course, we'll be out to make sure that's happening. But it's a new system that monitors the weather. The computer is going to sit in our office there by itself, and we just have to make sure it's up and maintained and updated.
Is there like an override or set
able
them
to
off
send.
yourself if you wanted to.
Are you
I
talking
guess
about
that-
for their,
Yeah, I'm looking at
radios?
radio,
You talking about for your radios, the repeater, to get better coverage?
There needs to be a site up on the mountain for that to happen. We put repeaters on water towers, everything else. That hasn't happened. I wish it was that easy.
Seriously though, we're talking about maintaining poles and batteries and somebody didn't order poles and all that. How did you get in charge of tornado poles?
Well, I approached the mayor about, how it all started was I approached the mayor about our dilapidated siren system that wasn't adequate to cover the city and that needed to be updated, and he agreed, and I know we had to.
I don't know who ought to be in charge of that if it's not you, but.
Well, the problem was, the money's coming out of the general fund, the mayor's office. So Kristen, I think assumed that Danielle was gonna order it, and I think Danielle assumed that Kristen was gonna order it, and we tried to pass the buck, because it wasn't really ours to order, but, so it kind of fell through the cracks, and so he called and said, hey, those poles should be about there, and I said, yeah, they should be. I called Kristen, and I said, when did we order them? And she's like, we didn't order them, the mayor's office did. And then I called the mayor's office, and she said, we didn't order them, we thought you did.
Well, that's what maybe, yeah, an actual department should be assigned that, so there's no.
Well, they gotta be maintained, and we don't have obviously a lift truck or whatever to get up to whatever you have to do to them, so. So I think Tom's volunteering to do it.
No, I will tell you that your budget, 65,455, maintenance and repairs, tornado siren, is an annual amount budgeted. We do maintain that. We have been maintaining the old ones. Any repairs, maintenance to it comes out of the general and admin. It's there. It's in your budget. That number may need to grow a little bit, but it's $3,000 this year for maintenance and repairs for the time.
Well, it comes out of general, but it doesn't really say what department's over it, does it?
General, it's over that.
I think the point was how to cover the middle plan.
I think.
Emergency response.
Yeah, they're the ones that
We always had to be in the office to
turn it on.
Turn it on. So.
24 hours.
One of my yard works good.
That's not one of the ones that usually go down.
I maintain low.
But the sirens are sitting in the street department, and the poles will be here very shortly. So if we leave here today without an answer on solar or electric,
I would go with electric myself and solar as a backup.
then I would need you to, at the very least, I think, approve the purchase of the solar panels at 18,000 some change for the backup.
That's the total.
That's for the solar panels. And I think that's probably installed on poles. I mean, they already put the poles in already.
Includes the batteries.
16,425, and it says, let me make it really big. 80 watt solar option includes two 80-watt panels, panel pole mountain bracket, solar regulator, and 45-foot long cable. Replaces standard AC charger with solar regulator.
I didn't hear installation.
Yeah.
Well, they're already installing the poles. Well, here's another invoice.
Actually got two there for the same.
That's the same thing.
Yeah, but they're different. Or are they the same? The amount's the same.
The amount is the same. It looks the same WPS 80s.
I thought it was.
I should have my glasses.
The first one is an estimate, the second one is the invoice.
Okay.
There you go.
Does that include installation?
Say, it just says, first one is an estimate, the second one is an invoice. It's written, it's not
So
actual.
now how much is the invoice then, 16?
It's the same amount, the estimate and the invoice are for 16,425.
So I'd make a resolution that we adopt the 16,000 for the
Budget,
solar.
I'm in the budget for that.
Yes.
I second it.
5 poles.
We have a motion and a second.
Yes.
Mr. Romaine Baker?
Yes.
Mr. Powell?
Yes.
Mr. McDaniel?
Yes.
Mr. Harris?
Yes.
Vice Chair?
Yes.
Unanimous.
Chief,
So we're good to go.
thank you. Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Appreciate you. Mr. Hammond informed me that he's out of here at 10, so we have 2 minutes
Yes.
for department reports and questions from council.
Retired guys.
There's several department heads here, if anybody has any questions for them. If not, go right into council forum.
Just to keep with tradition, how's the sidewalk?
So, sidewalk is reportedly, we're to begin on October 1. Obviously, that did not happen. Where's it? We haven't heard anything. We'll have to call tomorrow to find out what's going on.
He's waiting on something from RDOT.
RDOT, yeah. So, as I've said in the past, good news is, or the bad news is we could have a sidewalk being built at the same time as the overlay. The good news is we could have a sidewalk being built at the same time as doing an overlay. Overlay is coming along nicely, but the sidewalk has not begun. So we'll make a call tomorrow to find out. Not Forster and,
Good.
no, it's Crawford. Crawford has the sidewalk, so.
How much time do we have to do it?
I don't really know that.
3 months
I
plus
think
a
it's
month for
3
cleanup, I believe.
Yeah, 90
I
days.
got it wrote down in my
Yeah.
office, I believe that's it.
Once they begin.
Is this overlay they're doing right now, this is the last one before they turn it over to us?
Yes, sir. All church traffic will be rerouted once the overlay is completed. They'll have to turn, go in front of the old senior citizen center.
How much money we got in the bank?
17.7.
Are you planning on an overlay center?
Well, sooner than later.
Sure.
That's gonna go away, and we're gonna be in charge of overlaying all of that, and we don't take care of the streets we have now very well. There's a whole lot of infrastructure that needs to be checked.
Absolutely, but we would have not gotten a bypass without taking.
Right, but I'm just saying, I hope the bypass comes quicker than not.
2024 is still the date for the beginning of that phase 1.
I'm not saying we'll take it, you know what I'm saying, there's still roads need to be maintained, you know, there's potholes, and roads need to be maintained, lines, whatever.
So what did you say the path was once the overlay's done?
Sorry.
What did you say the path was?
They'll actually have to take, now, when I say they have to, that'll be up to us and RDOT and Arkansas Highway Police, is that what they're called? To control that, they'll still come into town as they do, but they'll have to turn left in front of Farmer's Bank, go across the bridge, turn left, and go out to 10 and head out. Now, local delivery obviously will be allowed. Jaegers or Tractor Supplies. But that was originally the truck route. So that's what will be enforced as this overlay is complete. To extend the life, hopefully.
Sorry.
He could have called it.
That's okay. All right. Anything else? If not, I'll entertain motion to dismiss.
I'll make a motion.
Sure.
Second.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody, tonight. Thank you very much. You got it.
Hey, when's the date? 16th. The 16th. 5 o'clock. 5 o'clock. 16th, yes, sir. I'll be there. Okay. Oh, hey, that's a real weekend, daggone it. Is that a Sunday? Yeah, Sunday. Yeah, I'll be there on Sunday. This guy's retiring right here. How many? 38. You've probably seen a few of the road boys up there. They all worked up there at one time. Yeah. Tony's the same age as me, and the other one, the first one. Tony's mine. Jimmy? Jimmy Jones. Yeah, he's a year old. I'll see you, I'm getting out of here. That's impressive, 39 years.
I can check my then I have a meeting, I've got a meeting with the committee Thursday.
Oh, you stay in the office?
I've been taking care of mine. Yeah, fix up the trash.
Oh, you did it.